here from allmusicreviews.blogspot.com. Gonna do my next Marillion album, partially today because some circumstances have come up, unfortunately. We had a death in the family, so not sure what my agenda is going to be for tomorrow. So today it's going to be Fugazi. So I was wrong about the total. I have, I think, 8 more of these left to do, so after this one I'll have 7 left. Hopefully I can do at least 2 a week and get this done sooner than later. But so Fugazi, the second Marillion album that came out in 1984, March 12th to be exact. The second album, obviously. The first album with drummer Ian Mosley. Mick Pointer had left the band, I believe. I don't want to be wrong on that, but I'm like 99.9% certain about that. Yes. Okay, so the details of the whole Mick Pointer thing, and I have a Mick Pointer record that I'll talk about some other time. Maybe in the bonus video, I'm not sure. But so Fugazi wasn't the first Marillion album I bought when I was buying their catalog, but it was one of the first ones. So here it is. Mark Wilkinson artwork, you know, and I got some vinyl show in a few minutes. This is the 1990 whatever 8 remaster, which comes with the bonus disc, which a lot of the songs on the bonus disc were from both, that ended up on B-Side Yourself and some of the other, like Reel to Reel. I can't remember. You know, just listening to it. I only listened to the standard track list of the first full length. But here it is. I mean, it's long right up from Fish. I would say among the Fish records, this has always been and probably always will be my least favorite record. And a lot of fans feel that way. They love the debut. There's a lot of charm in the debut. Misplaced Childhood, Clutching at Straws, you know. I'm not spoiling my rankings exactly, but I did not, when I bought this, I really didn't care for it that much. I knew the song Assassins, that I'd actually heard that, Assassin rather, after I had heard that from the compilation I had got, the 6 of One Half a Dozen of Another, I believe, and then the videos, because I got the video too. So, but I'm not sure. There's a few different reasons why. Part of it is with Marillion, with Misplaced Childhood, there were these little parts, instrumental parts and little hooks that were in a lot of the parts, and in like listening to the Steve Hogarth stuff too, to an extent. And on Clutching and on the Unscripted debut album. This album, and I was just listening to it today, and the observation I made, is very driven by Fish. I think it's probably the most Fish-driven album. In fact, in some ways, you could almost call it a Fish solo album, in that you're basically hearing his vocals, his lyrics. It's probably the most lyrical, from a poetic standpoint, album of among all the Fish albums, probably, and maybe all their albums, probably all their albums. So it's almost like the music, it takes a little bit of a back seat. Musically, it also resembles sort of the sound of what I'd call the neo-prog or neo-progressive rock sound, almost to the point I don't like that. I mean, I do like it, but I don't. There's a lot of bands like IQ and some others, 12th Night, Palace, Pendragon. They have this sound, and they call it neo-prog or neo-progressive rock, that I wanted to like, and I loved Marillion. I thought I would like a lot of these bands, and it sounds very 80s, it's like the 70s Genesis sounding, like it was produced and written in the 80s with an 80s studio, like with AOR influence almost to an extent. And again, so it's a combination of that with not that much feature. It also was like Script for Jester's Tear, in that I think the keyboards actually have more featured, or they more stick out more than the guitar work on it, which I don't mind, but I think later, probably even going forward from Misplaced Childhood on, it was a balance. I think Marillion has found that balance, but the first 2 records, it was like Mark Kelly's was getting more time in terms of the mix and the writing rather than Rothery. Maybe Rothery wasn't really, I don't know, he was being more of just a rhythm guitarist, like Steve Hackett in Genesis. You can argue that Steve Hackett took a backseat to Tony Banks a lot of times, and that's partly why he left the band, because he wasn't getting his band's ideas and wasn't involved as he might have liked. I think after this album, Marillion found that balance between guitar and keyboards, keyboards and guitars for a lot of the melodies. So that all being said, I've gone back to it many times over the years. It was always the red herring among the Fish albums for me. It was always that sort of one of the records I just, I want to like this more than I do. I want to like this more than I do. I see some fans that really like it. I actually have seen some fans that consider this maybe their favorite among the Fish albums. They think it's better than anything after Fish because they're not that into the Hogarth stuff. But I'll say this, its best moments are pretty good still. The title track, which, has different meanings. I was looking up some of the definitions of some of this stuff. The title track, where are the prophets, where are the, it's like chaotic. It's a little bit like the world right now. It's like a lot of these gangs and a lot of the lack of order, it's like chaos almost, Of course, this was before the band, I believe, of that name, Fugazi, actually even formed, I think. Anyway, Assassin, is not a bad song. I can see why that was a single to an extent. Although it's still very kind of odd. I wouldn't call it corny or cheesy to an extent, but there's a reason why Steve Hogarth, I don't know if he's ever sang that tune, and I don't know if he's done anything on this. He might have done the title track, or maybe Punch and Judy or Jigsaw. But, Punch and Judy, Jigsaw, they're okay. Incubus is probably the track that I've slept on to an extent. I've always liked it, but I don't remember how much I like it. It's got a very cool vibe to it, very, I don't know, seductive is not the right word, but an Incubus is actually about a creature that seduces women, I guess, in their sleep. Again, that song came out before the band Incubus formed, I believe, but, She Chameleon, I mean, this reminds me of a little bit of like Fountain of Some Ashes from Genesis, like their version of Fountain of Some Ashes from a lyrical standpoint. So, I'll show my vinyl copies. And again, when I do my rankings in a few weeks, when I do those videos, you'll see where this falls. It's I guess in a sense that I haven't listened to it, 70 or 80 times like some of the other records. I've listened to that many or more. I've only probably listened to this album maybe 20, 30 times in full. It was on Capitol. I think part of it was Marillion was trying to find what they were. They did Script for a Jester's Tear, and, it was successful, it was fun, but it also did kind of have a fair amount of obvious influences of, like, your Genesis and Yes or Pink Floyd. I think at this point they're like, well, and there was like a punk influence on this album to an extent. I don't know if this is a first, it's EMI, it was the first or second pressing, but I think that was part of it too, is that they just were experimenting and, they were trying to, they put out Misplaced Childhood after this, and it's like, well, obviously they kind of figured some things out they were trying to do that they didn't do. You look at this pic, it reminds me of, was it Infinity from Journey? I always liked the cover art on this album. You don't usually judge an album by the cover art, but I mean, I'd say that the cover art's better on this album than like on Clutching at Straws, maybe even on Script. This is one of the better cover arts they ever did, and maybe Mark Wilkinson's best. You got the Jester right there, or the Clown at least. So I think that was part of it, and I mean, again, you had a new drummer in Ian Mosley, although his work is fine on here, but I guess, the thing is I listen to this, and I'm not going to be able to open this. With original lyric liner, that sucks. I don't know if I'm going to be able to spend, what it would take me a couple minutes here. I guess I could hit pause. I guess I can do that. So, alright, so I got it. I can show that. The original lyrics. So the other version I have is probably not, the other one I just showed, is probably not, see, there's a lot of little references in this artwork, especially you get it on vinyl, you can find. The other one was probably not a first pressing, but this might have been, although, I don't know how many pressings even this record had until recently. The official store, the label, Racket may have reissued it. Yeah, there you go. It's kind of neat. Oh wait, no, this is actually the jacket. But I get the sense that whoever owned this version did not play it a ton. Anyway, yeah. So you have a lot of references. I mean, the Mark Wilkinson artwork's always been unique with Marillion, but so yeah, Fugazi. I'd say it's like I could still listen to it and hear some new stuff because I haven't like worn it out. But at the same time, there's not like a plethora of like moments that are just like I get excited for. The title track is really a fun epic. I mean, I'd say that the last two tracks really stand out. The rest of it is sort of just like, yeah, I remember that song, but I can't remember the hook later. And I just, now reading through some of the lyrics, this is as much about Fish's like lyrics and poetry as it is about just the music. And so you can see sort of the jump from here to Misplaced Childhood. But yeah, I mean, I still like this record a lot, and I mean, it's Marillion. It's my favorite band, and, you know, they obviously didn't break up after it. They were just finding their footing. You know, they'd only been a band for 4 or 5 years at this point, and this is the lineup they had for a few more records at least. So, but anyway, Marillion fans, what's your take on Fugazi? I'm sure a lot of the ones from the Fish hardcores are like, oh no, that's a great record too. I mean, some people probably put this above, you know, maybe all the Fish. They consider this the favorite because it's the most different. But if you haven't heard it, definitely check it out. But yeah, Fugazi, you know. But please give it a like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.